Shalom Aleichem, sweetest friends. This year to be a special schus for Rabbi Elchonon Ehrman, Mazhen Bes Chana, Rabbi Ben Sarah, Sheh Bracha Batzlacha B'chol Maaseh Yedayim. In Makkos Daf Zayin, the Mishnah says that according to Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Tarfon, they say that if we were in the Sanhedrin, nobody would ever have been killed. And the Gemara says, how would they have managed that? And one answer the Gemara gives is they would ask the Eidim, Re'isam, Treifa Harak, Shalim Harak. Did you see if checked him out after he was dead and see if he was a shalim or a treifa? Maybe he was a treifa. He was going to die anyway, and therefore they're pater. They're not chayiv misa. They're not pater. They're not going to give him a reward. But they're not chayiv misa for killing him. And Rav Ashi says even if you say he was a shalim, they'll makom saif nekev haya. Maybe even if they checked him out, but maybe where the sword went, there was already a hole, and that's where he was a treifa. So the male, that's the way they'd make sure he wouldn't be able to answer. They don't know if maybe they met the makom saif nekev haya, and the mela, the din is that he's off the hook. So we would never make sure that no one was ever killed. It says Tosis and Dibar Maschil, Dilma makom saif nekev haya, kashel avenu tam the mina perkam the chulin, umapiklam mikra the lechashinin lahatas lina basaruba mapitom. We go out. We learn from Sukkim that you go after the rov, and the rov is that there was no nekev b'makom asayif. There was no hole there. When Rabbeinu Tam devadei lo chashinin ela yasho alahem shimamud lo yadinin yevatil ha'edus. So Rabbeinu Tam says, no, really we're not choshish. We're not choshish. The only thing is that im hayasho alahem shimamud lo yadinin yevatil ha'edus midid av asayif aririn. So Tosfos answers, according to Rabbeinu Tam, that really we're not choshesh. We should follow the rov. We don't say b'makom saif nekev haya. But that's only if we don't know and we follow the rov. But here Rabbi Tarfon and Rabbi Akiva would be mevar this prat. And if the person didn't know how to answer, they can't be mechayiv and misa. Because even in a place where we don't know, we're somech on the rov, but in a place where the Beis Din asked the Eidim, and they didn't know what to answer, we're not somech on the rov, and we don't kill the rotzeach. And this is dom elabediga saif ariran. That if the Eidim are machash each other, saif and ariran are two different types of instruments, two different types of swords. So if they contradict each other, then their edus is batal. But if they say we don't know, their edus is kayam, their edus is valid. So just like we find by bedika saif arira, that if there's a steer in the bedika we're not makabel their edus, and nevertheless, when we don't know, their edus is miskabel. So too, the gabi the bedika, the gabi the shaila, if there's a nekev, if we don't ask, we're somech on the rov. And if we ask and they don't know, we're mevatel their edus. Dilo shailin on chayov by saif and ariran. There's two different types of swords. If we don't ask, then the person's chayiv. V'zeomer zeh b'saif v'zeomer ba'ariran ein zeh nachon. Afal gav the b'saif ariran etc. Armein an yodim harei zeh nachon. Zeh garua hol v'har gufei ein yodim. So even though by saif and ariran, if we ask the Eidim and they don't know, we kill the rotzeach, and we're makabel their edus, and only if there's a stira, we're not makabel their edus. Zegarua. This case is worse, since we have to make a chiluk between chisar and yediyah b'bedikos that are not shaykh to the gufa edus, like with what sword was used, saif or ariran, and bedikos that are shaykh to the gufa edus. Like here, if there was a hole in Makom Acherev, was there a Meiser Ritzicha or not? If we're talking about the sword, then that's not part of the etzem. We know that he's a Rotzeach. We're just asking what instrument was used. But so in such an instance, if they say they don't know, it's fine, only if they contradict each other. But here we're talking about something more essential to the Edus. Maybe there wasn't even a Meiser Ritzicha because the person was already a Treifa. So here, not knowing is enough. So by Saif and Ariran saying they don't know, that doesn't pass with the Edus. But this case is worse when they don't know, because Bahara Gufan and Yodim, they don't know about the Harug himself. Umiyu, however, says Tosfos, Tam Zeno Miyushav. Umeize Tam Huze. Even though Nishal Lahem Yechayev, Vim Nishal Varmayin Yodim Yepotter. Say Mapitom. That if we don't ask them, then we're Somech on the Rov. And if we ask and we say they don't know, then we're not Somech on the Rov. My high. Why wouldn't you be Somech on the Rov? If they don't know, be Somech on the Rov. Ma She'elapo. So we see a Machlokas Rishonim here in Tosfos. That if the Beis Din doesn't ask the Eidim if they saw whether or not he was a treifa, so the Rotzeach is going to be Chayav Misa. Why? Because we go after the Rov. And Rov B'nai Adam are not treifa. But if they ask the Eidim, and they said they don't know whether or not he's a treifa, whether V'makom Saif Nakav, that they don't know, so in such an instance, the Eidus is puzzle. And we pater the Rotzeach. That was Rabbeinu Tam. So his argument would say, no, Ein L'chalik B'zeh. Just like if we didn't ask them, we follow the Rov, like we see in Chulin. So too, if we did ask them, we also follow. We also should follow the Rov. So we have to understand what's the Sharash HaMachlokas here. According to Rabbeinu Tam, if we ask them if he was a treifa, if we don't ask them, we can follow the Rov. But if we ask them, they don't know, we don't follow the Rov. And according to Tosfos, who argues, they say no. Whether we ask or not, we can follow the Rov and say that he wasn't a treifa. There's no chiluk between whether we asked or didn't ask. So in the Sefer Avram, he suggests as follows, that it says in Bava Basra, that Vavam Beis, Kafa, it's based on the Mishnah and Bechoros and Ches, Kafa tzechad min ameyum l'sochen kulam p'turim. So if you're counting the animals for Meiser Behema, and one who's out of the pen jumps back into the pen, they're all pater. That animal that was already counted paters all of them from Meiser Behema. Rashi writes, Hayamaser tlaim v'yisilim nos kshen yotzim pesach hadir. He's taking off Meiser from the animals. They're coming out of the opening. And before he gets to 10, one of the menuyim jumps back in. One of those that already counted jumps back in, and he doesn't recognize which one. They're all pater. Those that are in, those that are, no matter, those that are pater, that they were already counted. And those that are in the deer, even if they're 1,000. Why? Because it says, Kol shel asher yavur tachas hashevet. Anything that passes under the staff, Amar Achmana, v'lo she'avar kvar. And not that you don't have to count one that already passed. And every one is besuffic, maybe already passed. Maybe it was already counted. So Torah's Memaid, what was already counted, and every one is besuffic, maybe it was already counted. That's Rashi. So Tosfos famously asks, I bittul barov. Why don't we mevatel barov? There's only one here. And Tosfos doesn't answer their kasha. We should mevatel this one animal barov and then be mechayev all of them in Meiser Behema. The Shita Mekubetzis answers famously, Kevin the Chazina da filu hechad yochal asuri manav shach pater Mishum da Asiri Vade Amrachon Avlar Siman Asafik Vafilu Kamrini Parish Meru Parish Asiri Safik Mikri Al Shatara Tira Safik Zebi Surim Chil Sivachre Rab Lahatos Aval Hacha Lolam Lanafik Michal Safik Asiri Rush. So he brings down the sheet of the Rush, and that is that when you're counting, it has to be Asiri Vade, not Asiri Safik. And here, even if you're following the Rov, it's still a Safik. And when you say call the Parish Meruba Parish, it's still a Safik. You can just follow, if you have a Rov, you can still follow the Rov, even with Torah's Safik. But here, you need Torah's Vadai. Rov doesn't help for Vadais. Rov only helps for suffix. Because Asiri Vadai Amarachmana Velar Asiri Safik. And Rov, Shafta Safik, even if it's Rov, it's still a Safik. The Ritva writes, Aye batil barov, hachalo batil haimishim damar achmana asiri vade, below asiri suffix. Same idea we see from the Rush and the Ritva. That even though the Torah says to follow the rov, and you're allowed to be samech on the rov, but it still remains a suffix, it doesn't give it a din vade. But Tosfos didn't say this. Tosfos blind with the kasha. Because Tosfos obviously holds, or probably holds, that rov makes for vadai. And therefore, if you have this animal which is mixed up with all the other animals, so every animal that comes out, you can say V'Torah's vadai is not the animal that was already counted, because it's one of the rov that wasn't counted, and rov makes a vadai. So we could say that Rabbeinu Tam holds, like the Rush and the Ritva, that there's no koach of rov to create a vadai. And Memela, we could say this for Rabbeinu Tam, that if Beis Din doesn't ask the Eidim whether it was a shalim or a treifa, so we follow the rov, that it wasn't a treifa, like it says in Chulin. Because the Gabi Yediyah is Beis Din, it's enough that there's a rov to be machriya and to pass in the din. Because the Gabi the Beis Din, there's a din in the Torah of Achar Rab Lahatas. But where the Beis Din asked the Eidim, maybe he was a treif, and the Eidim say, we don't know. Even though the Eidim also know that there's a rov. And even if they say this explicitly, Rabbeinu Tam holds it doesn't help. Because even though Beis Din can paskin al pi rov, that doesn't help if the Eidim are now allowed to be made al pi rov. V'darashta v'chakarta v'shalta heite v'nei emes nachon adover. This lashon of emes nachon hadover is a dover borer, and if you don't have b'shleimus hadover, so then it's chaser b'shleimus emes. So if these edus is somech on a rov, it's not a good edus. So when the Beis Din isn't asking questions, so then they could be somech on the rov that he wasn't a treifa. But the second they asked him, holds Rabbeinu Tam, they can't say b'vadaut that yes, because rov doesn't create a vadai. You can't say b'vadaut, yes, he was a shalem. He can't be killed anymore. It has to be emes nachon. Gavaldik. But Tosfos argues to the Rabbeinu Tam, and they hold that even if they ask him and they say, we don't know, it could be samech on the rov. Because Tosfos holds like the Tosfos in Bav Mitzvah, that they didn't answer that rov, only the rov still remains a suffix. They held rov is b'Torah's vadai. So these Eidim can say b'Torah's vadai that he was a shalim. They could be somech on that rov. So just like we're somech on the rov when we ask, we could be somech on the rov. Just like we could be somech on the rov when we don't ask, we can also be samech on the rov when we do ask. So once you're samech on the rov, they can be samech on the rov even if you're asking. This is also emes nachon hadavar. Was he a shalim or a treifa? They can say he was a shalim. They have a rov. So that possibly is the machlokas between Tosfos and Rabbeinu Tam. supposed to ask, why don't we follow the Rov? And Rabbeinu Tam says, doesn't help if you're asking, because Eidim can't be Samech on a Rov. So yes, they can. However, from the Rambam it appears that there's a mitzvah and a chov and a beis din lidrosh v'lachkor es ha'edim. What do they have to do? If you look in the Rambam in Hilchos Eidus, the Rambam says the mitzvah essay lidrosh es ha'edim l'chakor and l'harbas b'shei lasan. If that's a lot of questions, Vi-chakiros both kenosim be'ez shavua, be'ez shana, be'ez chodesh, kama b'chodesh, be'ez yomi me'ah Shabbos. He asked them all these time questions. Ha-chakiros v'adishos hem dvarim shem ikar eidus. So the chakiros and drishos are ikar eidus, and then you also do bedikas. Rambam tells us about the different questions you ask them, about the lavush and about the kalim, v'chulei v'chulei. So from the Rambam, there's a Rambam in Hilchos Eidus. Perek Aleph, Halacha Daled, Hey, Vav, Perek Beis, Halacha Aleph. So from the Rambam, that there's a mitzvah and a chov and the Beis and Lidrosh v'lachkor es ha'edim. So the Chora, even if they weren't explicitly commanded out this mitzvah, the Eidim would have to say the exact time and place, even if there wasn't an explicit mitzvah on the Beis Din to be choker and dorish. Because since in the Torah it says a parish of Eidim Zomim, and the Ikar has Zama, is what's no get is man in Makom. Like the Rambam says in Perek Aleph Melchos Eidus Halacha Hey, Ha-chakiros v'adish same dvarim shem ikar eidus and mitzchay bo yipater ben kavanas hamayis shasa v'kivan hazman v'kivan hamakom shebem yazumu eidim u'lo yazumu she'en aneichol mahazim eidim ad shichavnu hazman v'hamakom. So they have to know the place and the time, because otherwise there's no eidim zomim. So the question is, lama likra? What do I need a pasuk for? What do I need a pasuk to tell me that Eidim has to be choker and dorish the Eidim with the rashta v'chakar tehetev? Without that, we know they have to be choker then, because otherwise, how are you going to create Eidim zomim? Otherwise, it's going to be Eidus shiatay chol azim, and it's not Eidus in the first place. So pashut that they have to ask time and place. So why do you even have to? Why do you need a special pasuk for this to tell us to do chakiros and drishos? Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to be Eidim Zomin. If they can't be Eidim Zomin, it's Eidus Shiatol Chol Azim. It's garnished. So it would appear that even if the Beis Din would know, even if we know that the Beis Din has to be Choker and Dorish, Zman and Makom, but that was not said explicitly in the pasuk. If that was not said explicitly in the pasuk with the Rashta v'chakarta, so then we could say that it's not chelik migufa edus atzma. What's the gufa edus, the ma'aseh that he did? Like Reuven killed Shimon b'meizid v'hasra, and that Beis Din has to ask the Eidim in ogel zman o makom. That's only to be mekayim din hazama. It's medina sanhedrin v'lo medina godes ha'edus. The Beis Din can't be mekabel edus shev shal azima. That's not mechayiv. It's not mischayiv mitzad hagodas ha'edus, because the gabe hagodas ha'edus, it's enough they say so it was. That was the event, but it's not chelik miguf ha'edus. And there would be an afkamina that if it's chelik miguf ha'edus, or whether it's midin Beis Din, Kabbalah Sa'idus. Because if we say this whole din of Drishos and Chakiros is mitzad Kabbalah Sa'idus Shala Beis Din, but it's not Chelik Migufa Eidus, so it would emerge that the Eidus was finished when the Eidim were made on the Maisa. And since that their Eidus is finished, Now we have a din of kevan shegit shuvena chozer umagid. And they can't retract. But after we have the Gzeres HaKos of Drishos and Chakira, so what does that mean? That the whole inyan of Drishos and Chakiros are Chelek Miguf HaEdus. If the Pasuk wouldn't have told us about the Drishos and Chakiras, and this was only Mitzad Kabbalas HaEdus that Beis Din has to ask them in order that it should be Edus She'etei Chol Azima. So it's not part of the Gufa Edus. And after they're already most of the Gufa Edus, now we have a din of Kevan Shigit Shuvenu Chozer Magid. Because once the Etzem Edus is finished, the Ikar Chakiras are finished, now there's a din of Kevan Shigit Shuvenu Chozer Magid. But now that we have this Gzeres HaKos of Drishos and Chakira, Pshat is that these Drishos and Chakiras are part of the Guf Edus. And as long as they're involved in Drishos and Chakira, the Edus hasn't yet finished. And Memela, the din of Kevan Shigit Shuvenu Chozer Magid doesn't start. And they can still change it. We see that in the Gemara in Ksubis. Amalei Rava Kol Kamina Kevan Shigit Shuvenu Chozer Magid. V'chitema hani mili al peh, aval b'shtar lo, v'amar Reish Lakish, Edim achasum al shtar nasa k'mishenach g'reidus and bevezdin. So this whole din of Kevan Shigit Shuvenu Chozer Magid is after Nech G'reidus and bevezdin. And therefore he says that Edim achasum al shtar nasa k'mishenach g'reidus and bevezdin. And if Nech G'reidus and bevezdin, then Kevan Shigit Shuvenu Chozer Magid. And Reish Lakish is mechadesh that when they were chosim al ashtar, that's like Nech G'reidus and bevezdin. And since Nech G'reidus and bevezdin, their edus is finished. But the yesod is that if it's part of the Gufa Edus, these questions of time and place, and as long as you're asking them, he can still retract because he hasn't yet finished his edus. But if they're not part of the Gufa Edus, just the Etzem Mais is the Gufa Edus, and asking questions about time and place is not part of the Gufa Edus, just what they have to do in order to make sure that it's not Edus She'echol Azima. Then the moment they finish with Gufa Edus, they can no longer be Chozer or Magid. So there's a nafkamina with this pasuk. We asked what's the nafkamina. Anyway, they have to ask. Questions, other questions. The answer is no. The Torah is telling us that there's a din of Drishos and Chakira that tells us that the Drishos and Chakira are all part of the Gufa Edus. And not just to verify that it's not Edus She'etei Chol Azima, or to make sure that it's not Edus She'etei Chol Azima. Another nafkamina is what we said b'das Rabbeinu Tam, that he says where the Beis Din doesn't ask if they saw if Treifa or Geshalim Harag, so then we would follow the Rov, that he wasn't a Treifa and the person is killed. But if they ask the Eidim and they say we don't know, so Batlei do some. And the reason is because since Beis Din asked him this question, it's part of the Drishos and Chakira, and it becomes part of the Gufa Edus. And Gufa Edus, their Edus has to be Emes V'Nachon. And it doesn't help Midin Rov, because Rov doesn't create a Vadai, and Edus has to be Vadai. But that's only if we say that there's Gzeres HaKosov and Darashta V'Chakarta. Then, when you ask them specific questions like Treifa Harag or Shalim Harag, you have to give the right answer. But if we don't say the Gzeres HaKosov, then we could be Somech on a Din Rov. Because then, only what's Chelik Mi Etzem HaEdus has to be correct. Has to be Emes V'Nachon. But the Shaila of Treifa Harag isn't Chelik Mi Gufa Edus. And there you could follow the Rov. So there's an nafkamina in this pasuk of a darashta v'chakarta. Two nafkaminas we saw. I always said, anyway, you have to ask time and place, because we have to make sure it's Eidush Sheyatei Chol Azima, and without time and place, we have to make sure that it's Eidush Sheyatei Chol Azima, and without time and place, it's Eidush Sheyatei Chol Azima. So the answer is that this pasuk is telling us that it's Chelik Miguf Eidus. And the nafkamina is, number one, that Kevin Shigit Shuvein Achozer Magid only starts when he finishes his Eidus. But as long as he's in the middle of Eidus, there's no din of Kevin Shigit Shuvein Achozer Magid. He may retract. So if it wouldn't be Gzeres HaKasuv, and we're just asking time and place to make sure it's Eidus that's given to Hazama, so the second they finish Gufa Eidus, that's it. They can't retract anymore. Their Eidus is essentially over. The other questions, you're just asking for a Zayte Gezach, a side reason to make sure that it's Eidus Techol Azima. But the Eidus is finished, and Kevin Shigit Shuvein Achozer Magid. But if you say that it's a Gzeres HaKasuv, no, it's not enough, which is what we're saying, that it's not enough to ask in order that it should be Eidush Chol Azima. Because if it was just to ask in order that it should be Eidush Chol Azima, the Torah didn't need to tell us for the Rashta V'chakarta, we would know on our own. The fact that it says Rashta V'chakarta means that these extra questions are part of the Gufa Eidus. And since it's part of the Gufa Eidus, so we don't say Kevin Shigit Shuvein Achozer Magid. As long as he's going speaking out these things of Drishos and Chakira, the different questions the Rambam says you ask, he can still retract. That's number one. And number two is like Rabbeinu Tam says, that when you ask him this question, when you don't ask whether Trei Farag or Shalim Harag, you follow the Rov. When you do ask, you can't follow the Rov, because it has to be Eidus Vadois, it has to be Emes Nochon Adovar. But that's only if it's Chelik Migufa Eidus. But if you say that it's not Chelik Migufa Eidus, the extra questions that we ask, then he can follow the Rov. Because the only time you need a Vadai is when he Emes Nachon Adover. That it's an absolute, that it's the Eidus has to be 100% when it's part of the Gufa Eidus. When it's not part of the Gufa Eidus, they could follow the Rov. And say, yeah, Rov is a Shalim. But since we've Gzeres HaKasav, they have to be sure of themselves. They can't be Somech on the Rov. Okay, so V'siyata Dishmaya, we have obviously tons to say on so much on this, and topic in specific, and topic in general, and a million other topics. So we're just going to give ourselves a bracha that we should have the financial means and the simcha, and to continue learning V'siyata Dishmaya V'simcha B'tuv Levav Me'rov Kol. Lanu l'chol beis Yisrael, amen v'amen. Shalom, shalom, sweetest and most beloved friends.